Jeff Raspe here with some very special guests in the studio. As I've said on the air before, and as people have noted to myself that I don't say this very often, my new favorite band.
What?
God,
That's great.
Because I've heard some of your favorites, and that's awesome.
I actually saw you earlier this year opening for Glenn Tilbrook and the Fluffers.
Oh, cool.
And that came as a surprise, and, you know, I fell in love with you guys.
Oh, that's so kind.
Did you have any like pre-notion? Had you seen like any photos or heard anything of us?
Well, no, actually, the weird thing is that before going to the show, I was talking with a radio promo guy who was working Glenn's record.
Oh, cool.
And I said, oh, yeah, that looks like this band from New York is playing, opening for Glenn, the Spring Standards. Because actually, this was at Mexicali Blues or
Right.
Mexicali
Yeah,
Live
sure, right up the
now
road in Teaneck,
in Teaneck, which is not far from my parents' house.
Oh, cool.
So we went, and they had your website linked, or your MySpace site linked, on the Mexicali Live site. So I clicked on it just before leaving, and the MySpace page pops up, and I immediately recognized the photo. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I was just on this page. So somewhere along the line, within a couple of days of that show, I must have come across your MySpace page because it just seemed immediately familiar.
Wow.
Whoa.
It really is
So
a
it
world
was-
Well,
wide
maybe
web.
it's some
yeah.
crazy cosmic thing, Jeff. Maybe it's something that we got
I
between
see. That's
us
the
here,
thing.
you know?
That's so. Actually, how did that connection happen? How did you guys end up on tour with Mr. Tilbrook and the Fluffers, who, by the way, is completely out of his mind? But I'm sure you know that by
He's
now.
a good man. He's a good man, but he's a little crazy.
He's like us, you know what I mean? He fits in. He
The
fits
best
right in.
kind.
Well, that was the funniest part. Well, not. I won't say it was the funniest part of the night, but it was a funny part of the end of the show at Mexicali Live was the slow motion fight you all got into.
That sort of
Yeah.
just happened one night. That was why it was so brilliant, you know, because that's the kind of weird stuff that we'll do every once in a while just for no reason. And then all of a sudden it just started with us, and we were like, yeah, Glenn, let's do this thing. You know, it was so fun.
Yeah, I totally see Glenn not having a problem with that.
Yeah. Well, what happened is we opened up for Squeeze.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
we had 2 dates with
When
Squeeze.
they got back together.
A while back, and
Well, in the fall.
in the fall. Well, that's in my head. That's like 10 years ago.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have the same booking agent, so we got
yeah.
hooked up sort of business wise, but it ended up being
Yeah,
a
it was
lot
one of those.
different than-
Yeah, we played for Squeeze for 2 dates, and then after that, Glenn asked us, you know, sort of to come on his tour when he did a solo project. So
Yeah.
we were really, you know, obviously stoked. So we did that, and it was just one of the greatest tours. It was just so much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
and
lot
it
of fun.
definitely worked.
Yeah.
But that's not actually your only sort of big name connection. Your debut record was co-produced with one Rhett Miller.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
So where did you come across him?
He is the neighbor of one of our managers, actually.
Oh.
And when we first started working with them, we were all sort of independently big old 97's Rhett Miller fans. And we were, you know, talking about making the EP. And one day our manager was just like, how would you guys feel about working with Rhett Miller? And I know for myself, I was totally speechless and then terrified
I peed myself.
at the notion of even meeting him, let alone then collaborating with him. But Rhett's one of those people that, you know, once you spend 2 minutes with him, he just burns the pedestal that you have him on.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
just is right there with you. He's so down to earth. He's so loving and generous. And was just a wonderful person to work with and collaborate with. He was really, really helpful to us in our first sort of studio thing, and has remained a good friend.
It's funny that we've you know, the two connections and the two people we've talked about so far are people like Glenn Tilbrook and Rhett Miller, who, like, the first time I interviewed Glenn here, I was kind of in the same boat. I looked at him like, oh my God, it's Glenn Tilbrook from
totally.
Squeeze.
Yeah.
You know, which, you know, for my generation, I grew up on Squeeze. And he was just, you know, totally out of his mind and really fun. And actually, that first meeting, he had brought his toddler, and we actually put him on the air.
Oh,
Yes.
awesome.
He made his
That's
radio
right.
debut.
That's cool. That's cool.
And then Rhett was kind of the same way. A couple of years ago, we had him play. We do a series of concerts, songwriters in the park over in Red Bank in this gorgeous park right on the Navasink River. And a couple of years ago, I had Rhett do it for a fraction of his normal price, mostly because it was convenient. He was driving from his home
Just
to
worked.
the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and it was, okay, I'll stop for that.
Yeah, why not?
And it was the first time his kid got to see him play, actually, which was actually
Oh,
really,
wild.
that was a
Oh,
really
man.
cool moment. He actually took me aside at one point and said, this is the first time my kid's going to see me work.
Little Max. Yeah.
So that was kind of fun. But But Rhett was the same way. I was like, old 97s, in our world, they're a pretty big band, and, Rhett's pretty big. And he actually remembered being at an old 97s radio party 9 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That I was at, and
Wow.
we were introduced at that party, and he actually remembered it.
Oh wow.
That's
Oh, wow.
amazing.
So he was totally down to
That was
earth.
a good years for the 97s. Like that's right around when like Satellite Rides came
Yeah.
out. Some of the records we all fell in love with, listening to. Yeah. Wow.
I find it's the mystery of people that is the intimidating part. Once the sort of the mystery of them is shed away, they're just another person. You know what I mean?
Well, and you know what? That is almost 100% the case.
Yeah, exactly. Each person we've had the opportunity to meet, it's you at first you're like, well, what's it gonna be like?
So what we were talking about was Rhett Miller co-producing your EP, although it's almost an album. It's what is it? It's actually
close. When you throw in all the bonus tracks,
seven
too.
tracks,
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah. The new EP, sort of new, relatively new. We'll actually talk about the fact that you're gonna be working on a full length shortly.
That's right.
But I think you wanted to start with one of the tracks from this this EP. No One Will Know, co-produced by Rhett Miller, available now in various and sundry places, not the least of which I'm sure is your website, which, by the way, is
www.thespringstandards.com.
Smooth.
We're gonna do the first track off of the EP. It's called Goodbye Midnight.
1, 2, 3, 4. Chalk another up for the queen of the night. She won't take a nickel or a dime to lose this fight, wrong or right. 14th Street is a beat up place. It's cold and the city's still aching from your kiss, and it's hit or miss.
Bending backwards for you, honey. I'll be the one who holds your side so tight. I'll find a way to make things funny. There'll be nothing left of me, but it's alright. By midnight.
Press it to my lips, breathe her in so deep. I can't quit my baby just yet, 'cause I'm in need, and she's nicotine. And there's a busy highway, I'm steady as a freight train. I move slow, but I get what I need at my own speed.
Bending backwards for you, honey. I'll be the one who holds your side so tight. I'll find a way to make things funny. There'll be nothing left of me, but it's alright. By midnight.
Take that picture off the wall, let's smash it. Rip the frame off and start again. Some dead paper left behind tell stories where empty faces used to shine.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It seemed the whole thing was over before it begun, like the setting sun. It shines in lines through the crooked blinds, then a cold retreat to the dark where it came from.
I'm bending backwards for you, honey. I'll be the one who holds your sad soaked eyes. I'll find a way to make things funny. There'll be nothing left of me, but it's alright. It's alright. Bending backwards for you, honey. I'll be the one who holds your sad soaked eyes.
nothing left of me, that's alright. By
Does peace really have a chance within our lifetime? At Rotary, we believe it does. We've created programs at universities around the world, dedicated solely to teaching peace to a new generation. There's a new symbol for peace. Rotary.
The Spring Standards here on 90.5 The Night with me, Jeff Raspe. That is an absolutely ridiculously catchy song.
It's illegal, actually.
In some states it is. On this record, No One Will Know, which is actually completely self-released, right?
It is,
That's right.
yeah. We decided to just go it alone. This day and age, it's a tricky landscape out there with record labels and whatnot. So we're staying independent as long as we want to end up doing so. You know, it's definitely a changing world in the music industry. So, and there's so much freedom in putting out your own music and feeling completely in control of what you do artistically. And we're certainly a band that, you know, not to sound self-righteous, but we never really want to be put into any kind of a box.
Oh, without a doubt.
And
yeah.
now with the internet, with MySpace, with everything, it's not even like, you know, you don't even have to use so much of words like independent release. It's just like almost everything is. Even the stuff under labels these days are using the same stuff that like we're using. So I feel like with the exception of a big old fishing rod that can throw our record all the way out there across the world, like, you know, we're doing it on our own, and it seems to be working out.
With the advent, I mean, I remember, you know, in the years that I was working for independent labels, the hardest part was the distribution of it.
Right.
And thanks
Yeah.
to the
Oh, it's the
internet,
whole
basically
game.
everyone has worldwide distribution.
Sure.
Capabilities, yeah. Yeah, totally.
Some dude in his basement or some band on the road. Everybody's got the ability now, you know, to do it at least.
One of the things I was going to mention was that I tend to pride myself on being the guy who, when one of my friends comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, have you ever heard of?"
You gotta check
So-and-so?
out the blah, 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 yeah.
I love it when I say, "Oh yeah,
Duh.
of course."
Do
What
it.
do you think I do? Come on. So I'm a bit, you know, embarrassed for myself that I let the Spring Standards fly under my radar for so long, and then to the point where there was actually, you guys were a band before this.
That's right, actually.
Yeah. Well,
we've been multiple bands before that.
That's gone on since we were 15 years old.
Different
so
setups in
it's
each
been
group.
It's been a while. And, you know, obviously time has passed. We've had other band members in and out, things happening, other directions that life has taken us. And, you know, it wasn't until a year and a half ago that the three of us were like, let's really see if this could work. Let's really see what happens if we really give this our all. And that's where we're at now.
Well, and you guys are definitely doing it, because that's one of the hard parts about actually even just scheduling you coming here tonight was that you are always away.
That's right. With each step, home becomes the van as well.
True, too.
It's actually strange, yeah.
Yeah.
After our fifth or sixth time out for like a bit, you know, more than a week, you know, more than a week-long tour, I started to feel like, oh yeah, here we go, back in the van. You know what I mean? As opposed to, oh, this freaking van again.
Yeah.
You know, it was more. It's definitely started to be like, oh, okay, here's my favorite pillow. Here's my thing. Here's my windows. I has to be open at 1/4 degree
You learn to
angle,
love
you know,
even the like pretzel shapes your body has to get in to fit in there. You're
Yeah,
like, that's my comfort zone
Yeah,
now.
there's that one cushion that dips a little more than the rest, where you put
Yeah.
your hip in. You're like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah, and we can watch the commitments on the DVD player.
There you go. But that's the way it was done, and that's as big as the music industry got in the last 10 or 15 years, 20 years. It's already swinging back the other direction.
Right.
Part of it is their own fault, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, even, you know, the day Bruce Springsteen was here, I think he even said, I forget if it was on air or off air, he said himself, I wouldn't have been able to make, you know, album number 3 in this
Yeah,
business.
Climate.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course, in his case, album number 3 was Born to Run.
That's
so
right. The biggest.
So good thing
Whoopsie
you did.
doozies. Yeah.
if nothing else, the internet has certainly put musicians way more in touch with their fans than ever before, and I think that is an amazing development. And I know that at least for a band like us, our fans they mean the world to us, and we know so many of them by name. We know, it's
and the
not,
internet helps itemize and categorize, and you can really remember faces. Where I guess back in the day, it maybe wasn't so easy to reach out directly. And although that being said, there's something I think now
in the old
with,
days you just had a mailing list.
But I think actually because now back on the topic of having a van and hitting the road kind of thing, there's as much kind of inverse education now, like to music fans, whereas there's so much available instantly on the web that it's almost now cooler to like go see like the band that just drives to your town, you go see them play, or to or to receive something in snail mail, get a postcard in snail mail from a band or something and be like, what, that's super special, or like something you can hold on to that isn't like a MP3. Like vinyl's coming back now, I think, mostly because it's a big piece of art, and it's different, and you can hold it and touch it, and it takes up your whole vision when it's 3 feet from your face, and it's not like a little thing on your iPod. And
people are amazed that I still don't actually even own an iPod.
I'm proud of you. Some people still don't own cell phones. They just do it.
I feel bad enough holding a 4x4 CD cover. Because I just think back of the different experience. I can actually remember vividly listening to certain albums when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Sitting in front of a big bad stereo turntable system, and those big gigantic cans
can't
that
take that
crushed
anywhere,
my head.
man.
And stuff like that. I literally can remember listening to the Clash's Sandinista.
Wow.
Like all 6 sides.
Yeah, and there's nothing better than vinyl with headphones on. That's like a dream. That's just big old. Whenever I have children, that'll be. I'm gonna put big old headphones on and make them listen to vinyl, classical music on vinyl, first 5 years of their lives. Nonstop. They won't even be allowed to eat or drink.
Jeff Raspe here with the Spring Standards, or Uncle Jeff here with the Spring Standards, on 90.5 tonight. You're actually gonna play us another tune.
That's right. This song is it's called Bells and Whistles. Hope you like it. It's a long road, but I got big wheels. They keep on turning, babe, like the earth and the sun and the moon and the stars. I don't need fireworks, I just want a slow burn. But it takes so long to get to you, my girl. I've got the time. And bells and whistles make no sound when you're around. I bite my lip and I wipe the sweat from my brow. And the sun's so hot, babe, that it's burning circles in the sky. And why so sad? 'Cause you got the country air and you got such pretty views. But what a view from the 59th Street Bridge. Have you got the time? And bells and whistles make no sound when you're around. That's all I need. And all it takes is a little boat or a paper plane. But the seas are high and the air is choked with rainy days so long until
where nothing ever ends. So come on, northern wind, and drench the darkness, 'cause it's so hard to handle the sights and sounds of you. And bells and whistles make no sound when you're around.
Jeff Raspe here with the Spring Standards. I did, of course, want to mention that, first of all, it's really, really cool to have you here in this setting.
Thanks, man. We're so glad to be here.
Because, for one thing, you can hear the harmonies, which, not for nothing, in the cacophony of a live show, will get lost.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes,
somewhere.
Yeah.
And on record, obviously, you get to isolate it and do it over and over again. But it's gorgeous to hear, and that probably, I think, now when you were in high school as teenagers, were you in real bands or like in choir together or whatever?
James and I, I'm gonna keep
This James,
keep
British
it a mystery.
redheaded James.
Not this James.
Yeah.
British brown-haired James. James, British redhead, and I did sing in choir. We actually met. I feel like I've told this story a lot more in recent months than I did previously. Maybe I'm less scared about being a nerd.
I do too. Why do you keep talking about this?
I don't know. We became friends, really, really good friends when we were cast opposite one another in the Fantastics. That's right. In 10th grade.
For a second, I thought you were going to say when we were cast away on an island.
That'd be a way better story. So yeah, we did start singing in the context of a lot of harmony, a lot of vocal heavy sort of stuff, and we were doing a lot of that as high schoolers when we were playing together, the three of us, and then the next band we played in had 6 people, and we were doing 6-part, block chunk crazy things.
Most bands were sort of like, playing really loud garage stuff, figuring out how to get tight as like a 4-piece with guitar, bass, and drums, and maybe the keyboard guy would, get home from his piano lessons and be like, I'll play with you or whatever. And most bands are doing that and getting that figured out and just sort of having one singer maybe or something, or 2 singers tops. And we sort of reserved that energy, I think, for learning how to sing harmony. We quickly became like the band that would show up at like Battle of the Bands with 2 guitars and singing, as opposed to, like a punk setup or something, like a small garage band kind of thing going on. So our meat and potatoes quickly became the vocals as opposed to the loud guitars. And I don't know, I still wish I did it backwards because I really love loud guitars.
He doesn't regret anything.
I don't regret anything, man. No.
One of the things that first caught my eye was, you don't have a drummer, yet you share the pieces of a drum kit on stage. So was this a conscious decision not to have to deal with drummers?
I wish we could say that. I wish we could say it was get that drum thrown out of here.
Semi-conscious. It was all super organic. It happened. I always like to say that it happened as a result of being being inner campfire musicians and channeling that whenever we play and sing, just sort of going for that vibe of like, strum away at a few chords and sing your heart out kind of thing. And enough of that led to, realizing that, we're stomping our feet anyway and we're getting really into it. And, and that would happen enough that I figured, I'll throw a tambourine under my foot. And it sort of started there. That was like the beginning. Like, okay, well, tambourines can do the backbeat. And now like people can maybe dance a little bit. You'd see people dancing. And so one thing led to another, and we figured you can just sort of place drums under your feet, and you got 2 of them each, and that's plenty. I mean, we only end up using 1 as we're going because we need to stand on a foot at least, obviously, while we look like flamingos as it is while we're playing. But no, the concept just led to let's put the basic elements of a drum kit under our feet and see what happens, and we'll play around. And it wasn't actually even as as organized of a thought process as that. It just sort of, one rehearsal, the kick drum was there, and there was like a hi-hat, and the last piece of the puzzle was Heather learning the snare, and now she's totally the baddest drummer this side of. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. She's got her own awesome style that I can't compete with. But we all basically assume a little bit. Heather probably has slightly more drum responsibilities when she's involved in the drum trifecta than others. She's got a snare drum and a cymbal and all sorts of different things going on. But the point is, you get sort of like the boom and the snick, which is all you need. Boom, snick, and that philosophy led to where we are now, and it's become a whole thing. People say, "How'd you do? You must write all the drum parts." And really, it's just one little grain of sand at a time. And now we're lucky enough to have a sweet jar full of sand. But I guess, it's super organic. There was very little premeditation.
Just to say to all you drummers out there, we do not have any sort of thing against drummers.
No,
we'll often meet
I don't know,
drummers.
speak
and
for
they're
yourself,
like,
man.
We'll meet drummers and they're like, "What's the problem? You're putting me out of work, man." And we're like, "No, it was never an issue of do we want to deal with a drummer or don't we?" I think it was just that the three of us, we have roots that go way, way far back. And when we find a fourth member, he might be a drummer, she might be a fiddle player. It might be I don't know, walking
boombox.
one-man band. For us, it's all about really musical connection, more than just, we need a drummer, let's put it out on Craigslist. So that's kind of another part of the backstory is not that we have anything against drummers. It's just that we wanted to try this out first, and it's working pretty well.
But come on, we all know that drummers are complete nutters.
The total nutters, exactly.
Any excuse towards that would
only
use
the English ones, only the English ones are nutters,
But I do want to thank you guys for stopping by tonight.
Oh, it's
This
our
has been
pleasure.
fun, and
Yes,
hopefully
thanks, man.
folks
Thanks for
can.
having us.
Cool.
And we have to get you to play on the Jersey Shore somewhere.
Yeah, man. we'll do it.
Love to.
Before we go, remind folks of how they can get in touch with you. There's the regular website, thespringstandards.com.
And then there's myspace.com/thespringstandards.
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, we're on Twitter. We've got a blogspot blog called Lead Sled Said. .blogspot.com.
Our van is
Our
called the
van.
Lead Sled because it's, as James mentioned, often filled with shrapnel and flying down some hill at 150 miles an hour. So.